This is a practice video for Blue and Green from the Miles Davis album Kind of Blue, written by Miles Davis and Bill Evans. This is a ballad, and what we're going to do now is kind of deconstruct these chords using the shell voicing, sort of four-note technique that we've been talking about. We're going to go through some different processes for finding the right voicings in the left and in the right and putting it all together for a nice four-note constructed harmonization of this tune. You'll find that this is a great beginning for solo piano playing and also getting the concept together of distributing the melody, bass, and chords evenly between your two hands and getting you away from that concept of the left hand plays the chords only and the right hand plays the melody only. Basically what we're going to be doing here is playing shell voicings and adding the missing tone, the third and the seventh, along with the melody in the right hand. Let's go ahead and look at this melody first. It's really not too difficult. It's pretty slow moving, so we'll play it one time through with a click. Let's go ahead and play that together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. All the time here while I'm playing a melody, I'm just trying to keep my thumb off of a black note. 2, 1, 5. Here I'm going to cross under to keep my thumb off the black note. Keep going. Good. Let's go straight to the coda. 2, 3. 2, 3. Okay. Now, I'm not overly concerned about the fingering you are using on this melody because, in effect, we're going to be playing the melody and one other chord tone in our right hand. So we're really going to be concentrating on putting that melody in the top 3 fingers of our right hand, while that harmony note's going to be here in fingers 1 and 2 of our right hand. Now what I'd like to do is go through and play the bass notes, or the roots of the chords, in our left hand while we're playing the melody in our right. Okay? Now, about the only thing we want to be concerned about here is that there isn't too much space between the two hands. Probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5 octaves to 2 octaves between the two hands. You don't want to get too spread out, or you'll find that the chord that you're going to create in between is going to be a little bit too spread out and maybe even have too much space between a couple of voices. So let's go ahead and just try to keep those two voices within about a 2-octave range. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this. Remember, the basic concept at this point is just keep your thumb off of black notes. All right, here we go from the top. 1, 2, ready, play. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. If you're hopping around in the 5th finger in your left hand, that's okay because those are the roots, and we're going to be getting another chord tone here. Let's try this again. Now let's go on to the coda. Okay, good. Now we're going to slowly go through creating those inner voices. The basic rules for creating those inner voices are that the middle 2 notes here, one is going to be played probably with the thumb of your left hand, and one's going to play with a remaining finger of your right hand. Those 2 voices in general are going to be the 3rd and the 7th of the chord. There are a couple of exceptions to that which we'll talk about in a minute. Well, let's go through the tune and try to work this out. So the first chord, we have G minor 7. We have G in the bass and E in the melody. The third and the seventh of a G minor 7 are B flat and F. So we could play this chord like this. G, B flat in the left hand, and F and E in the right hand. We could also play it like this, G and F in the left hand, and B flat and E in the right hand. Either way is fine. What you're basically looking for is that there isn't too much space between any two voices. Probably not any more than a tenth in the left hand. Probably because, for two reasons. One, anything more than a tenth is very difficult for any human being to play unless you are a very tall male. And the second reason is if you start spreading things out more than a tenth, it won't sound very harmonious. It'll sound like independent voices. So you want to keep things pretty much within a tenth in your left hand and probably not much more than a sixth between any two other voices between the second from the bottom and the top two voices. So we could start like this or like this. It really doesn't matter. Okay, the next one, we've got an A and a C. So the third and the seventh here is C sharp and G. So we could get the C sharp right here in our left hand and the G right here in our right hand. We really don't have much option other than this, because if we were to get the G in the left hand, we wouldn't be able to get the C sharp in the right. Remember, you want those two middle voices to be in between your melody and your bass, not operating on the outsides of that. Even if we were to move the A down, that might give us one other option. We could get the G here and the C sharp here. That's a nice spread out voicing. That is another option there. Let's continue on. Going to the D, let's say we're here, we've got two options. The third and the seventh of a D minor seventh chord are F and C. So we could get the F here and the C here. We could also get the C here and the F here. You do want to try to get two notes in your left hand and two notes in your right hand, not three notes in one and one in the other. Remember, we're trying to get away from that idea that the left hand takes care of the harmony and the right hand takes care of the melody. We're trying to get the concept that both hands are responsible for both harmony and melody, so two voices in each is an important concept to master in this tune. Like that. Going to the D flat, you can see the melody lingers here on the A. Our left hand goes down to the D flat, and now we need the third and the seventh of a D flat 7, which would be F and C flat. We could get that like this, or we could get it like this. So if I'm coming from this chord on the D minor, I'm probably going to do smooth voice leading and get my D flat 7 here. If I'm coming from this chord on the D minor 7th, then I'm probably going to use smooth voice leading and get my 7th and 3rd here. Let's continue on then. C minor. Here's the melody and the bass. The 3rd and 7th of a C minor 7th chord are E flat and B flat. So I could get that here, or I could get it here. Either way is fine. They both sound totally fine. But the only thing you want to watch out for is this interval of a third is going to start sounding muddy if you get much lower than this B flat here. So probably if you're starting to get that kind of a sound, you're going to want to start opening things up on the bottom. Now up to the F. So let's say we pick this voicing here, C, B flat, E flat, and F. My right hand moves up to the D. And now for the F7, you can see that it's very smooth to just move like this. F, A and E flat, and D. Now the chord itself says flat 9. There isn't really any way we can get the sound of an F7 flat 9 with only 4 voices. We'd have to eliminate something of the chord, or we'd have to add it in as a 5th voice. And you can see my flat 9 is right here under my 2nd finger. So we can get that sound if we like. So that 4th measure is going to sound like this. C minor, melody, F7 flat 9. Onto the B flat major 7, sharp 11. Root is here, melody is here. The 3rd and 7th of this chord are D and A. So we could voice the chord like that. Or we could switch it around and get the 7th here on an A and the 3rd here on a D. This is a sound I prefer, actually. It sounds a little cleaner or clearer than this one, which is starting to sound muddy. A7, sharp 9, sharp 5. A plus 7, sharp 9. Well, here's my A, and here's my melody. The third and the seventh are in between. The third is a C sharp, and the seventh is a G. You can see this is far too much of a reach here, and if I put the G up here, it's too much space between these middle voices. So I'm probably going to want to put my A here and my G here, and get the C sharp right here in my thumb. The chord also calls for a sharp 5. That would be right here. If you want to add a fifth voice, you can. However, if you don't want to add a fifth voice, we really don't have much choice other than to have the root, the melody, the seventh, and the third. The next one, D minor. Here's the melody and here's the bass. My third and seventh are F and C, so we could voice it this way. Or we could go with the seventh here on the C and the third here on the F. Where you would choose to put this usually comes from where you came from. So if my A7 is here, the smoothest place is right here. On to the E7 sharp 9 sharp 5. Here's my bass and my melody. We want the third and the seventh in between. Well, the third and the seventh are G sharp and D, so we could voice it like this. Or we could voice it like this, with the root, seventh, third in the melody. Currently we don't have a sharp 9 in our voicing, so if we want that sharp 9, it would be right here as an F double sharp. Personally, I don't care for this sound. It sounds a little too clashing for me. So I might voice it back down this way, E, and then the third and the seventh with the sharp 9 in between. Once again, that gives us a 5-note voicing, so if you want to be clear about and clean about this chord and just keep it as 4 notes, we're going to have to eliminate that sharp 9. Either way you want to do it. This is fine as a 4-note voicing or adding the sharp 9. For A minor 7, here's our A and here's our melody. The third is here on a C and the seventh is here on a G. So we could voice it that way. We really don't have too much of a choice of inverting these because we haven't given ourselves that much space between these two chord tones. The melody here and the bass here. But if our bass note were down here on an A, we could have another option of the seventh and the third in between. But however, we don't have much of a choice otherwise here because we could do it this way. Bass, third and seventh, that's okay, but this gives us a range of a tenth in our left hand, very difficult to reach. If we were to put it here, the third here, and the seventh here, once again, this gives us an interval of a tenth here, too far to reach. So our best way to do it with the bass note A down here is with the seventh and the third in between. The next chord gives us one of our exceptions to this rule. We have the melody here on an F and the bass here on a D. Remember, we're looking for the third and the seventh in between. In this case, it would be an F and a C, or a C and an F. But the issue here is the melody itself is an F. The melody itself is a third. If the melody itself is the third or a seventh, then you probably want to put the fifth and the remaining chord tone in between. So for example, on this chord, I have the root and I have the third. That means in between I need a fifth and the remaining chord tone, which is a seventh. So that means my two remaining chord tones are 5 and 7, which are A and C. So I'm probably going to want to put the C here in my thumb and the A here in my thumb, giving us a nice open D minor 7th chord. Conversely, if the melody were the 7th of the chord, like a C, I'd want to have the 5th and the remaining chord tone in my two voices in between. So a D minor 7th chord is D, F, A, and C. I've already got the D and the C, so my two middle voices need to be F and A, which would probably look something like this. But our melody is F, so we want to put it D, C, A, and F. So altogether we have something like this. Third, seventh and third. Third and seventh. Seventh and third. Seventh and third. Seventh and third. Third and seventh and flat 9. Seventh and third. Seventh and third. Seventh and third. Third and seventh. and sharp 9 if you wish. 7th and 3rd. 7th and 5th. Now moving on to the coda. 7th and 3rd is one option, or 3rd and 7th is the other option. 3rd and 7th. And here's the sharp 5. Okay, now let's go to this last chord, D minor 6-9. Let's think about that. Well, the bass note is here on a D, the melody is here on a G. Now in between we want the 3rd and the 7th. So usually that would mean we'd have an F and a C. However, this is a 6-9. Anytime you see a 6-9, the 6th takes the place of the 7th. So I have 3 and 7 here on the C. That C is going to move down to a 6. It's always a major 6th when you're talking about a 6th, so it would be a B natural in my middle voice. D, F, B, and G. If I want that 9th, it would be right here on an E. So I get this beautiful voicing. D, F, B, E, and G. All right. So now what we're going to do is put on the metronome and we'll try it together, going slow. I know that we might be picking two different voicings. I might start with the 7th and the 3rd. You might start with the 3rd and the 7th. But it's a really good idea to try to get this very slowly and cleanly together and really get good distribution between your two hands and really make sure you have all the proper chord tones represented when you're working through this tune. Okay, so let's try one pass through. Okay, let's see what happens. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, so if that's still pretty tough, let's try another intermediate exercise. What I'd like to do now is go through and just play shell voicings in your left while you're playing the melody in your right. In fact, for the first time, let's try this. All the shell voicings we are going to play are roots and thirds. All the shell voicings are roots and thirds, okay? Melody in your right, roots and thirds in your left. And let's hear what that sounds like. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play. Good. Now let's try the other one. Melody in your right hand, roots and sevenths in your left. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, now what we're going to do is a similar exercise where you can go ahead and play the 3rd or the 7th, but try to get the closest, smoothest voice leading possible. So we want that middle voice to move as little as possible. Let's go ahead and start with the 3rd and try to get the smoothest voice leading possible. Okay, I'll even coach you along. So we'll start with the 3rd and I'll coach you along. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. Up to a third. And this one's going to be an open seventh. Seventh, seventh, and to a third. This one's a seventh, open. Open seventh. Now a closed third. Third. And this one's a seventh. And this one's a third. All right. Now let's try the opposite. We're going to start with an open seventh and see where that leads. I'll coach you along. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. And to a seventh. To a third. 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 Open seventh. To a third. Third. To a seventh. Open seventh. To a third. And to a seventh. Okay, all right. Now let's try another intermediate exercise. Now what we're going to do is try to just play the melody with one chord tone. We'll go ahead and start with the third, and we'll just try to go to the next closest chord tone possible, and I'll coach you along here. All right? So we'll start with the third of the G minor, which is B flat, and the melody here. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. Down to the seventh. Down to the third. Stay on the third. Third, which becomes the seventh. The third. Stay on the third. And now the seventh. And stay on the seventh. And the third. And now up to the seventh. That was a tough one. Let's try this again. Third, going to go down to the seventh. And down to the third. Stay on the third. The third. Move to the seventh. Down to the third. Down to the third. This moves down to the seventh. Up to the seventh, down to the third, and up to the seventh. All right? Yeah, that's a tough exercise. But now hopefully these are giving you some idea of the distribution of these melody and harmony tones, getting really comfortable with the shell voicings in the left and the melody finding one chord tone in the right. Now we're going to talk about feathering. Feathering is a way to make this sound a little bit more interesting. Instead of these block chords, which sound fine, we're going to start kind of spreading these out and feathering the time which these tones sort of come in. So instead of this, I could arpeggiate the 4 notes from bottom to top. That's the most basic way to feather, which is just arpeggiating from bottom to top. But other ways you can feather would be, say, from top to bottom. Other ways you could feather would be, say, bottom, top, and then the 2 middles. Bottom, top, and then down. Or another way would be bottom, top, second from the bottom, second from the top. So you can see all feathering really is bringing the notes in at different rates. They don't have to go from bottom to top. They don't have to go from top to bottom. They can go from inside out, from outside to in even. We could start with the second note and go second, third, top, bottom. So, however you want to think of feathering, the idea is the notes come in at different rates. Here's a performance of this tune using the feathering technique. Here we go. 1, 2, here I go. Bottom to top, and top to bottom. Bottom to top. Middle to out. Top to bottom. Bottom to top. Middle to out. Coda. Feathering is a really interesting and fun concept to play around with, and you hear pianists like Bill Evans and Claire Fisher and Herbie Hancock and Keith Jarrett doing a lot of this feathering idea. They all have their own different ways of doing it, all very beautiful and expert ways of doing the feathering technique in different ways, but something that's really fun to play around with. But for right now, if it's enough for you just to get the bass note, the melody, and the two chords in between, that's totally fine. So have fun with this, have fun practicing it. Don't get too worried or upset. It is kind of a mathematical type of a process at first, but in the long run, it's really fun and sounds great. So have fun with it. Look forward to hearing you, and look forward to seeing you at the next video.